2 days into your physics program at Stanford University, you quit school to start a company called Zip to a media company,
right?
Which you sold a few years later for a paltry $307 million. Then 4 years later, eBay buys PayPal. Is that correct? A company
Yes.
that you established or helped to establish as one of the creators?
With a few others, yeah.
And now you've taken those two enormous successes and you've set your ambition on space.
On June 12, 2026, SpaceX debuted on the Nasdaq. By the end of the first day, the ticker SPCX held a valuation of $2 trillion, the largest market entry in human history. In that single session, Elon Musk became the first person ever to be officially called a trillionaire. This figure represents the present-day cash value of a future that has not arrived, the total cost of Mars, robotaxis, and orbital data centers sold to the public today at full price. A $1 trillion valuation functions as a massive collective wager. It is the price of a belief that the future has already surrendered. Bitcoin became the century's most successful monetary idea because of a specific, intentional absence. Satoshi Nakamoto mined the early blocks and then vanished, leaving the system with no owner, no ego to feed, and no single point of failure. Musk's power comes from doing the exact opposite. He anchors ordinary commercial ventures, cars, rockets, and payments to high moral ground, framing them as missions for human survival. Rather than letting these ideas become decentralized and self-sustaining, he has made himself the jar they are kept in. Every global ambition must now flow through one man's nervous system. This total centralization turns a $1 trillion empire into a speculative asset driven entirely by confidence in a persona. Musk is in effect a human Bitcoin, a belief-driven currency that only retains value as long as we keep trusting the face on the coin. When a mission begins to thrive outside its founder's control, it reveals their true priority. 3,000 years ago, King Solomon identified the true mother not by blood, but by her willingness to surrender her child so it could live. In 2015, Musk helped fund OpenAI to ensure safe artificial intelligence for humanity. Years later, the mission flourished without him, resulting in the most significant consumer technology of the decade. Musk responded with a $100 billion lawsuit, asking a court to dismantle the very structure that was achieving the mission he once championed. When Chinese manufacturer BYD began outselling Tesla, marking a milestone for global electrification, Musk demanded protective tariffs. The mission of cooling the planet was secondary to his need to win the race. Musk's pattern is to reach for the sword. He has shown a consistent willingness to break any future he is not allowed to personally own. The SpaceX IPO prospectus claims a total addressable market of $28.5 trillion. Under inspection, the actual space business, the rockets on the logo, shrinks to just $370 billion. Over $26 trillion of that valuation is pinned to artificial intelligence. Just before the float, Musk merged xAI into the SpaceX brand. The trusted rocket company now serves as a wrapper for an AI division that lost $6 billion in a single year. Short sellers like Michael Burry have warned that this offering relies on hype rather than fundamentals. The listing was strategically aimed at retail investors and pension funds, who are often the last to see a shift in the market. The reliable success of the rocket business acts as a curtain. It hides a vulnerable, speculative AI bet from the very people most likely to lose if the music stops. The defense of this valuation is execution. The cars exist, the rockets land, and the technology delivers real-world utility. Musk himself has argued that money is merely accounting, while the real economy consists of goods, services, and energy. Kilowatt hours cannot be faked. This philosophy demands an audit of everything currently being sold as a future certainty. A $1 trillion valuation requires the arrival of safe robotaxis, self-sustaining cities on Mars, and solar-powered server farms in orbit. In Greek mythology, Prometheus handed the gift of fire to humanity, but the interest on that theft was collected every day. Technological progress is always borrowed, and the bill eventually comes due. If the physical reality of these promises cannot arrive before the financial audit of what was actually built, the valuation has nowhere to go but down. In the year 3000, share prices and personality cults will be dust. The only remaining question is whether the ideas escaped the man. True historical survival requires an idea to become useful enough to survive the death of its founder. For the mission to live, the creator must eventually become irrelevant. An asset with a face on it is inherently fragile. It is worth something only as long as we collectively agree to keep believing in that face. When the curtain finally moves, we will see if the future has actually arrived, or if it was just one man holding on to $1 trillion rope.